This is another Read Me Something reward for Reich E. Spore's Patreon. We are reading from my Oz-based novel, Polychrome, Chapter 58. Lords of Faerie, mortal allies, all peoples of the Rainbow Kingdom, all those assembled here upon the mountain of the heavens, before the eyes of the above, we are here for one of the most joyous of events, Iris Mirabilis said, his voice echoing across the mountain top, through the fastness below and above. I glanced to my side, and the beauty there could have blinded me. I still can't believe it. It has to be a dream. I'm going to wake up any minute now, and then I will cry myself back to sleep. Because it was more than just her beauty, although for her face and form alone I'd have done anything at all. It was for who she was, and that she did love me as I'd come to love her 10 times more than I could have imagined, even when we had first met. That year together, when I hadn't dared speak of what I felt and thought, and when she hadn't imagined the possibility of what was now about to happen. That year, that incredible, terrifying, grinding, precious year, had made us more than a dizzily infatuated couple drunk in the first surge of attraction. It had made us friends, and my father had told me that what kept him together with my mother for all their years was very simple. I married my best friend. If I wake up now, I won't just lose a teenager's fantasy. I'll lose a friend, a companion, someone who risked everything for me as I was risking all for her and all her people, who put herself through just as much as I. For a moment I shuddered at the very thought. If this is a dream, I very seriously mean it when I say never let me wake up. Lord Eric Medan has asked my daughter, Polychrome Glory, to marry him, and she has agreed with joy and certainty, Iris continued. Though it may seem abrupt, know all assembled that they came to know each other well in the year that he spent in my kingdom, for Polychrome guided him in his learning of our world, aided his seeking and understanding, and in the end followed him to the final battle, to do what must be done. And so I call them forth, the hero and heroine of the realm, the mortal man and the heir to my kingdom, to speak their vows before us all. We stepped out of the royal tent to the accompaniment of cheering that nearly deafened me. It's a wonder my cheeks aren't sun-tanning from the inside with the amount of blushing I'm doing. I kept my eyes focused on the mighty form of Iris because I knew if I looked at Polly right now I'd just stop and stare like an idiot till someone kicked me. We reached the very peak of Calorum Sanctorum, facing Iris, who stood somewhat below, so his great height brought his eyes just slightly above mine. We stopped and waited till the cheering died down. Polychrome Glory of the Rainbow, do you come here to marry this mortal man, Eric Medan? The most perfect voice in the world answered, I do. And you do this without doubt, without reservation, without question, knowing that once this bond is made, your lives and souls are bound for all eternity? Without doubt, without reservation, without hesitation, yes, Father. His eyes turned to me. Eric Medan of the mortal world, do you come here to marry Polychrome Glory, Princess of the Rainbow Kingdom? I do. My voice was slightly hoarse with the tension of the moment. And you do this without doubt, without reservation, without question, knowing that once made, the bond between you shall remain for all eternity, in life and beyond? Without doubt, reservation, or question, with all joy and willingness, Iris Mirabilis. He smiled. It is well. He turned to the assembled crowds. There I saw all our companions, the masses of the Rainbow Kingdom, many of whom I recognized, for after a year I had come to know them, and others of the fairy realms. Jack Pumpkinhead stood near Ozma, his creator, and nearby was Dorothy, Trot, Betsy, and I grinned as I saw the eternal lost boy Button Bright, and nearby the Shaggy Man. He was one of those who looked exactly as Neil had painted him, curling shags and all. Calico was there, and to my surprise I saw that Zenga stood with her mother and father and brother, with old Rinkai Tin and Inkar Blue and a dozen others from the surrounding countries. Rainbow must have been busy. If there be any reason, if any question exists as to whether these two shall be wed this day, then I command, as Lord of the Rainbow Realm and as one of the children of the Above itself, that you shall speak now or never. And to my shock, Polychrome spoke. Father, there is one thing. I turned, my heart feeling as though it was turning to ice, and even Iris looked shocked and pale. But it was part of an ancient ritual, and he spoke his part, even as he gazed at each of us in surprise. Then speak, Polychrome. She turned to me, and her eyes were filled with tears. Eric, my love, there is something I have to say, something you must know before you marry me, for it is something I'm ashamed of, and she took a deep breath. And once you know it, you may change your mind about marrying me. I blinked. Polly, She shook her head. When I saw you to be sacrificed, when you stood in that circle and Amanita was readying her knife for your heart, it was then that I knew. I knew why Father had seemed so distant from you at first. I knew what he had to have been hiding, and I understood. Oh, my love, I finally understood what you were saying to me all the times we'd known each other. Yes, I know, Polly, but please, I have to finish. She swallowed. I knew then you were in love with me, and I knew, by the prophecy and its riddles, how it was possible that you could be bathed in your heart's blood and still speak, how you could be sealed into your promise for that ritual and still fight, how all we hoped for could be achieved. I knew that you had to lose me, and so I made sure that you would. Tears were pouring down her cheeks now as I stared. Do you understand, Eric? I made that decision just like Father. I knew what it would do to you, and I knew that it had to be done in exactly that way. I didn't fling myself in front of that blade just because I loved you. I did it because it was the one way to save Oz, save Fairy, save my father and our friends. And that one way was to make you into the weapon we needed to destroy our enemies. And even when we said our goodbyes, I heard a choked sob, realized it was my own as the agony of that moment echoed back to me. Even then, Eric, yes, even then I was speaking those words and choosing them oh so very carefully to make sure that you would be the pure and unstoppable avenger that we needed. She bowed her head and waited. I stared at her. She planned that speech? Her own sacrifice to make sure I berserked? Had no doubts, no hesitation in using that power, even if I burned my soul to nothing? I understood why she felt shame, but at the same time I felt a smile on my face. Polly, I said, and her eyes looked up even though her head stayed down, eyes afraid and ashamed. Polychrome Glory, I need to know only one thing. You say you did these things knowing what they would accomplish, knowing that your death and your words would make me the weapon that would break the usurpers. She nodded wordlessly. What I need to know then is whether you lied to me, in deed or word, in those moments, or if every action and word also came from your heart. Her head came up then. I have never lied to you, Eric. I smiled then, my heart beginning to beat again. Then there's nothing to forgive, Polychrome. Polychrome, my first and truest love, there is no shame at all in finding that deep and cold policy must be followed, if it is also in accord with your heart. And I shook my head and heard my voice almost break. "And it would not matter to me in any case, so long as you told the truth when you said that you loved me. I was ready to die for the fact that you existed, Polychrome, for the very idea that you could care for me, that you could love me. There is nothing I would not do, and nothing you could do that I could not forgive, so long as you were still who you are." Oh, she reached out and took my hand, and I almost forgot where we were, looking into those violet, stormy eyes. Iris Mirabilis' voice brought us back to facing him. "Then, as no objections exist, Eric Medon, Polychrome Glory, give me your hands." His huge hands swallowed ours, but held them gently. "May the will and wisdom of the above watch over us all. Eric Medon and Polychrome Glory, be you now joined together, not as one, but as two who are now made greater by each other. May your bond exalt you in triumph, support you in trial, comfort you in loss, ease your pains, and echo your love and belief in one another for all eternity. May the above, in whatever guise you may see it, bestow upon you their ineffable and sacred blessing, that in the days when your time in this world has ended, you shall not pass into the void, or be taken below, but instead shall walk together for all eternity in the realm which cannot perish, and in which you shall be as you were, and more besides." He placed our hands together, and about them twined two golden chains. "The chains of gold are as imperishable as the binding of your souls, and so long as you are true to each other, never shall they fade or break. Do you, Eric Medon, take Polychrome Glory to be your wife? Will you pledge to her your body, your breath, your blood, your mind, your will, by air, by earth, by water, by fire, and by spirit?" I could barely speak. "I will." "And do you, Polychrome Glory, take Eric Medon to be your husband? Will you pledge to him your body, your breath, your blood, your mind, your will, by earth, by air, by water, by fire, and by spirit?" She looked into my eyes, and there was nothing else in the universe to me. "Oh, yes, I will." "Then the chains are bound, and by the power of the rainbow and the above, that bond now sets you free of all others. Let no power attempt to separate you, for none shall avail against you." And here I saw him smile, and knew he was adding his own words, "any more than any have done so in life. It is done." We looked to him as he spoke, and in that moment, for just an instant, I saw beyond him the great golden city, and the shining figures within, and one that stood above them all, whose piercing blue eye met mine. There was approval there, and a blessing, and a fierce and undeniable feeling of command, and as the vision faded, a warrior's smile. And then it was over, and another vision was before me, and I was kissing Polychrome Glory, first daughter of the rainbow, our hands still entwined by the golden chain of our marriage.